We got woken up by the cops this morning saying they found her bag on the sidewalk outside some bar.
Is there any chance that your daughter might just be still out partying?
She's 12.
Bring my little sister home, LT. Bring her home.
Did you know a girl was taken from my front of here last night?
Is she your daughter?
My friend's daughter.
I hate to be the one to say it. That girl's dead.
Yo, Bobby better.
You act like you're the only one who loved him. Like you're the only one who hurt. You don't own that.
Do I know you?
I'm someone whose 12-year-old cousin was abducted from the Bronx 3 days ago.
I don't know how I can help.
Just tell us everything that happened with your friend's daughter.
I didn't find her. That's what happened.
I have a witness.
Where is she?
We can't actually do this. Watch. This guy kidnaps another scared little girl.
I'm gonna help him. You ready, soldier?
You don't look any different, actually.
What's that?
You look great. You don't look any different.
Thank you. Well, the hair weave, you just do it when you're young, get it out of the way, go to the right guy, and then the rest just sort of...
Meanwhile, we can start if you want, by the way.
Okay. All right. So here we go. Well, no, it's great to know, actually. And I'm involved in the Woodstock Film Festival up here. And I've got my hands in a few things up. I adapted quite well to up here, and I'm working at a radio station. I'm an on-air personality or whatever, DJ.
What kind of station?
You get into New Paltz, because we even have some sponsors down there, Handmade and More, and who I know the people that run it. It's called 98.1 KZE, WKZE. So
I know that. Yeah.
It's a lot of rootsy music and, for depressed people with banjos and lots of other stuff too. I'm just kidding, but yeah, it's really it's worked out pretty. I'm glad I made the transition. You have any regrets about it?
Well, no, because we've still got our apartment. We just went and stayed up in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we've still got our apartment in.
All right.
Is this a visual or is this just an audio?
Well, it's up to you. I've been doing is I'll edit it together and I put the trailer, and then so I kind of and then I'll edit something together and then put some title cards and stuff. And then I put it on the Filmwax YouTube channel. But again,
just audio if that's okay, because I broke my glasses, so I'm wearing. I like to think I look like Robert Shaw in The Birthday Party, but okay. I think I look more like Ronnie Barker from the two Ronnies.
No problem. It's no problem at all. But now, okay, so the new film, let's talk about that, and then maybe just at the end, maybe let's just exchange numbers. So maybe this spring or summer we can meet up in I'm in Kingston all the time and going to see music all over. But so the new film is called Among the Beasts, and it's already in select theaters and on VOD as we speak, correct?
It is, yeah. It opened in New York. It opened in about 20.
Wow.
Yeah, it was surprising, actually, for a small independent film. Mm-hmm. And then we had a day and date release, so it's available on Amazon and on Apple, and whatever your streaming platform preferred.
Right.
Did that sound trained? I don't know.
Well, it should. I mean, you're supposed to sound like you've got it kind of packaged, ready to describe the situation. I mean, you don't want to miss out on what could be only a moment or two on somebody else's podcast. Here, you have 2 hours today to talk about your film in a very nuanced way.
Fantastic. Well, let me begin at the beginning. Yeah, no, it was wonderful. We were very lucky to partner up with Gravitas, who's a great distribution company, and they really responded to the movie. And they've been fantastic. I love that team. I mean, I of course would say that even if I didn't love them, but I do genuinely like us a lot. They're really, they're like, you know, I mean, I remember last time speaking to you, you know, they're like us. They could sit and talk, you know.
Oh, really?
Yeah, James Mason for, you know, a while.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
Where are they? Are they in the city or are they?
I think they're based out of Cleveland, actually.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they've got obviously people all
Sure.
over the place. Like, you know, everything is these days, you know, everyone can work from wherever. But
Of course.
yeah, they're based in Cleveland. So they bought it and really liked it and responded well. And they did a day and date. So it was terrific to go into theaters. And we had a premiere in New York, which was great. And it was really wonderful too, because a big part of the film are the veterans that we got to work with. So we, you know, the film is about a retired Marine whose fallen comrade's daughter is his kind of surrogate niece, and
Right.
he takes care of her, takes her to all her soccer games, and you know, we open the film with him in a veterinarian's waiting room with her puppy. And she goes missing. He's unable to find her, and it kind of sends him down a rabbit hole.
Spiral.
Yeah, and I think it's echoes of the trauma that he's faced in battle, the trauma.
Right. He felt responsible for this young girl's father's death in the first place. So it's not just even PTSD, it's like layered with a tremendous amount of guilt. So his way of sort of trying to make up for some of that is to kind of, you know, take care of this young girl because she doesn't have a dad. And then when she goes missing, I mean, that compounds his like he's felt yet another layer of failure to this young girl. And so he becomes very,
you know, I think shame is a big thing.
Yeah.
I'm talking to people. I mean, I remember I heard someone say something once. Shame is something that will consume everything but itself. It just makes itself stronger with how much it can consume someone's life and destroy it. And so he kind of falls into that spiral, and he's brought out of it when this young woman approaches him with a missing relative of her own. And through this terribly negative, horrible sort of circumstance of this girl being missing, he ironically finds some kind of positivity to put back into the world, that he can use his skills again. And in approaching this, Tori Kittle's the lead actor, and I were very, very committed to the idea that we wanted to base it in, you know, the veteran experience and that chosen family, because I think it's a really, you know, a lot of these, I mean, I talk to a lot of, you know, veterans, and I've known a lot of veterans throughout my life. I happen to have done projects that have involved the Navy and the Army, and if you start as a male actor, you invariably end up in uniform, you know, in some way or another. And so we were very lucky to fall in with the Knights of Columbus Social Club, which is a veterans club. We went and visited them, and they were great, and they were all very welcoming. And the second I met them, I thought, oh God, I'm going to put you in the movie because you're all fabulous. So all those guys in the bar, they're real veterans. So it's
well, that's it's almost because if you shoot those scenes, or that scene anyways, it's mostly one almost documentary style, I will say.
Yeah, I sort of, it was an interesting one, this one, because I tend to like to work like that anyway. I sort of want to ground it in reality, and I improvise a lot on set. And because of the structured action sequences and those kind of things that this particular story required, it had to be a balancing act between that approach and allowing the actors to spontaneously exist in the given circumstances.
Sure.
And also, you know, work very hard on making sure everyone's safe and it looks, you know, and I'm telling the story effectively visually. But that particular sequence is pretty easy because you can just set 2 cameras behind the bar and get these guys talking and talk. They can, and it's great. It's wonderful to watch. It was actually interesting too, because Tori and Jim Norton are the only two. Actually, Jeremy is there as well. So it's Jeremy, Tori, and Jim. And the actor who plays Stevie is also our assistant, one of our assistant stunt coordinators. So he's the guy that does all the fighting in the beginning in the boxing ring.
Yes, in the ring.
Yeah, and I loved him so much that I wanted him to play Stevie. So it's the four of them at the bar, but it's pretty much Tori and Jim having to do most of the interaction. And with those real guys. But I got to say, all four of those actors just blended so beautifully into them. And, you know, it's when you're dealing with guys that have experienced some of the things that those veterans have experienced to varying degrees. You know, some of them were in Vietnam, some of them were in the jungle and in heavy combat in Vietnam. And, you know, others have had different experiences in the armed forces, whether it's, you know, more administrative behind, you know,
Sure.
kind of mechanical, whatever, but the level of experience is different. But the one thing that joins them all is this experience of service. And they're very friendly, but you don't want to patronize them. You know, you don't want to sort of be show too much gratitude. That was my experience anyway. They just want you to be real. And Jim Norton was my secret weapon. He was absolutely fantastic. That moment in the film where he improvises the joke about the human IED, that was very early in the sequence of the bar, and that just won them over to us.
Okay, because that could have gone either way. But they knew Jim Norton's like career, right? I mean,
I don't think so. I don't think any of them had any idea who he was.
Okay.
So
that could have gone awry as well, you know. I mean, but if
that's Jim's brilliance. I mean, I love Jim. He's a really good friend, and he's a great guy. Yeah, really? He's a terrific guy, and he's a lot more sensitive, and you know, he's one of those guys that doesn't let that show. But no, he's brilliant, and he knows how to lob those things out. But that reaction from those guys was real, and as soon as that happened, then they started opening up, and then Andy, who he plays Tiny, but he is Tiny. He started talking to me in one of the breaks about some of his experiences. And I said, would you mind if I put this on camera? And that's when we got that incredible story from him.
Yeah. It was a great moment in the film. And, but, you know, taking a tiny step back, a baby step back, like you wrote this film, again, it's called Among the Beasts. And in addition to directing, and how did where did this come from? What did it come from? Just your conversations with vets, or did you already have some sort of idea of the story before that?
Well, I wanted to do something that had a bit of a muscular drive to the narrative, but that would allow me to still, thanks. Yeah. I'm glad that would allow me to still, you know, base it in character, base it in the experience of someone dealing with a loss and dealing with their past and dealing with the present, and the combination of those things all kind of clashing together. And I love movies. You know, I love the movies where I think William Goldman always has that great thing where he says, you know, the movie star always pulls up outside the court and there's a parking spot waiting for him.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I love those movies. I grew up on those movies, but I wanted to make a movie where the leading man had to circle the block a couple of times and maybe got a ticket, because to me, that's the experience of life. It's always at that moment when you're about to ask someone to marry you, or you're about to, you know, try and go for the big bank loan, that you have, you know, the food between your teeth, or you trip over your chair, and capturing that on film is something I'm really passionate about.
The grittiness, the sloppiness of life.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of filmmakers want to explore that. I'm certainly not alone there or unique there, but I just wanted to try and apply that to a story that is traditionally told fairly simply and you know, in a straightforward manner. I wanted to see what the deviations from that would be and what you would really have to do.
Because I think what you're saying is it's a genre film, and so there are some genre tropes that you're kind of almost paying homage to with Tony's character, but you're incorporating it into a more like I said, almost like more like a documentary, like you're shooting real people, you know. What would happen if you took like a real guy and put him in like a real action movie? You know, it has that kind of structure to it, I guess.
And even someone with those skills,
Right.
You know, with that experience and those skills to deal with those heightened situations, it's very different. You know, one of these guys, you know, it's that, I forget who said this quote originally. It's been attributed to a million different people, but one of a veteran who I was speaking to said, "Oh, it's not about not being scared. It's about being scared shitless and doing it anyway."
Right.
And
well, that's the trick, isn't it?
yeah, and I sort of want to see a guy have to deal with that, and I thought that was interesting. And you know, I was blessed with the cast that I had to work with, who really jumped on board and wanted to play, and particularly being led by Tori. As I mean, he was not just wonderful as the character of LT. He actually came on board.
I'm sorry, I called him Tony before. Tori, thank you.
Oh yeah, Tori Kittles, who's marvelous, and who people might know at the moment from being in The Equalizer with Queen Latifah.
Yeah, he's got a bit of a history with her, right? Like a collaboration with her.
Yeah, and he's been one of the great. I mean, he's one of those guys. You know, he's that guy. You know, he's been that guy for a long time, and he's done amazing work. And I saw him in a movie called Dragged Across Concrete, by Craig Zahler. And as soon as I saw him, I thought, oh God, he's perfect. And
yeah.
Well, I also had that sort of curtain folds in your mind where you suddenly go, oh, I know, and you suddenly start remembering all the things that you've seen him in and hadn't even realized, you know, like Get Rich or Die Trying. And I mean, I remember him from Tigerland, from, you know, years ago when all those amazing young actors got launched. But anyway, so I cast Tori, and then, you know, working around him, put together, you know, an amazing cast. And like I said, it's important when you cast, you know, people for a movie like this, that they're ready to get up and play, because
well, I have to tell you, I mean, there's really not a weak actor in the bunch.
Yeah, they're pretty amazing.
I mean, maybe that both speaks to your direction. I don't know, but it's a good cast. I mean, I wasn't really that familiar with most of the actors in this. I'll be honest. I knew Jim Norton, I knew Tori, but I didn't know. And I'll say, you know, you don't have a weak link in there, which is really, you know, makes all the, you know, makes or breaks a film.
I was very lucky. And I'm really careful in selection too, because like I said, I like throwing a lot of surprises, and you know, we come up with stuff on the set. Often if something happens, I believe in shooting the movie that's actually happening in front of you, rather than the movie that you wished you could have shot when you were sitting at your desk writing it. Because I've worked with really talented people who are so doggedly, I mean, it's a balance, right? You've got to get what you want to set out to get, but you've also got to adapt. If it's raining, it's better to make the most beautiful raining scene you can imagine than to try and pretend the sun's out.
Well, you have now, like, I'm familiar with your last two films, obviously, and they both kind of grapple with this redemption theme, right? Is that coincidence, or have you thought about that?
I guess it comes up,
and it's sloppy. You know, like the road to redemption is a sloppy road. People, you know, and people don't come out just, you know, looking perfect.
No, I think it's one of the great themes, right? You know, like one of the first things I studied when I was an actor at drama school was Chekhov, and you know, and Shakespeare, obviously, Chekhov and Shakespeare. And when you go through those great plays,
I'm not familiar with those guys, but they sound great. I mean,
they're good. Adam, I'll recommend some titles for you. They're not bad. But they deal with, you know, when we read all those plays, the common denominator are a couple of themes, you know, regret, loss, guilt, you know, obviously redemption, spirituality. And so for me, I think a couple of those, I mean, belonging is a big theme. I think I mean, you don't realize this when you're doing it, but other people have pointed this out to me, I guess, over the years. But, you know, belonging, you know, finding a home. Obviously, my first film was about 3 undocumented kids in the Bronx. I think that was where you and I first met. Talking about From Nowhere. And you know, that's all about belonging and finding a home. And I mean, I'm an immigrant to America, and I'm a very proud Australian.
So I was going to say second thoughts.
No, I'm a very proud, American resident, you know, an Australian American resident, and having roots in two countries and sort of, feeling that makeup inside you, I think is something that, resonates with me. And actually, that's interestingly enough, with Among the Beasts, that sense of belonging that the veterans have, and watching that sense of community. I said a chosen family to somebody, and I realized that that's also not correct, because for a vet, for someone who has served, they don't choose the people that they're going to be connected with for the rest of their life, but they certainly choose to take that very heroic step to potentially give their life in service to something, and that bonds them together. And so that family that you find in your life is also something that resonates for me, which I think goes through a bunch of the films.
Well, just to remind people, it's called Among the Beasts. It's written and directed by Matthew Newton, and it's currently on demand. It's currently available on video on demand, and it's been in select theaters. Hopefully, by the time this is out there, I'm not sure if it'll still be, but it's definitely, you can definitely go check it out right now. And even though we're doing a lot of kind of talking around the film and the psychological profiles of the character and the relationships, at the end of the day, it's a very fun film, action-packed, and it's a caper. It's a suspense movie. It's great. There's great action sequences, as I said. So we
were very blessed to have the great Jeff Amada do our fights and be our stunt coordinator and design our fights. And he's the guy that trained Matt Damon for the Bourne movies. He's a bit of a
wow, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
We had met, and he was luckily he was a fan of my previous film, Who We Are Now, and so we had the opportunity to say it again.
Who wouldn't be?
Oh, well,
that was a great one.
I love you. Thank you, Adam. It's very, very kind of you. Checks in the mail. But I met Jeff, had a great experience, talking to him. And so he came on board, and, normally I could never afford Jeff Amada, but, he was very passionate about this project. And so he worked really closely with Tori, and he was instrumental in making sure that, all those fights were exciting and real and true and messy and were with the spirit of the rest of the film.
Hey, it just occurred to me. I mean, I know this is a bit off topic, but I'm kind of curious to if you feel open to talking about it briefly. And that is the Alec Baldwin Rust situation. His I guess what not the crime, but the punishment. His case was reduced, at least the 5-year extra. They were going to charge him or punish him with another extra years in jail. That was rescinded, so he's still in trouble. I mean, it's still pretty bad. He's going to be brought up on charges of involuntary manslaughter. I think not good, but I was just wondering if you had any thoughts about it. I was glad that, because I felt like at the end of the day, it's still a horrific accident, but it is just that, it's an accident. And I think we do need to make sure that something like this never happens again. But
I mean, I wouldn't have any thoughts to add to that particular situation, but I will say on our film, we had Brian Shuley, who is with a company called The Specialists, and they do everything.
There is plenty of guns in your movie, so that's why I thought to ask. And no,
well, we were blessed to have Brian and his associate Rui be on our set, and it's a really incredible thing to watch those guys work. It's a very, very strict, disciplined approach, and we were blessed. Look, a crew is, I cast the crew as carefully as I cast the actors, because they're the people that are going to, keep the motors running and keep everybody safe and happy. And it's partly my job to make sure that they're enthusiastic and feel, a part of the story. And I feel this is not virtue signaling at all, but because it really is true. And I need to work with people who are like this. I really want to know people's opinion. Now, I've gotten really good ideas from the grip department. I've worked with some great grips and some really smart people. And, you know, some of these, I remember I worked with a great woman on, I forget which film it was. I think it was Who We Are Now. And she had an amazing suggestion, which completely solved a problem that I couldn't figure out. And I really believe in that kind of collaboration. So I feel blessed to have had the people around me that I had. That's what I'll say.
All right. Well, I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but
no, you didn't. It's fine. I had no.
Because I have a lot of thoughts about the subject, you know, and about it, and it's a very tricky situation, to be sure. You know, it's not so cut and dry. Nothing should be looked at as cut and dry, you know. Yet, God forbid it ever happens again, you know. Anyway, I do want to thank you, and it's great reconnecting with you, Matthew. I
Wonderful to see you.
You know, and I really support your career, and look forward to, you know, running into you in the Hudson Valley. And
thank you, Adam. Can I ask? Can I make a request? Could you say something to me as James Mason? Because I remember you have a killer James Mason.
All I can tell you at this particular time, Matthew, is you wanted to come back into the real world. Well, welcome back to the world.
I remember that speech.
Very good.
Speech.
Did you see? I think I can't remember. It's so many years ago. Did we talk about Odd Man Out? Did I mention? I think I recommended Odd Man Out to you because I watched it again about a year ago. Have you seen that film by Carol Reed?
Yeah, sure. I'm trying to remember. My finances just happened.
Oh, so I think it's from the 50s, and it's James Mason, and he's playing an IRA, I think he's playing like an earlier, like a kind of an IRA kind of figure in Ireland, and he is basically left out in the cold for an evening. It's really good. Anyway, if you like James Mason, I would recommend you watch that.
I mean, you know,
pretty
clearly. Cool. Yes.
Thank you, Joe.
Remember that? Well, that was from Heavens.
That's right. That's right. Thank you very much for indulging me.
Yeah, no, anytime. You know, I do other impressions, for God's sake. Come on.
I remember. But so good to see you. Thank you so much for having me on.
All right, and I will